You can give them another minute.
Yeah, let's do.
You like, okay. I just want to use your time well.
Oh, you're great. You're great.
Glad everyone survived the snow. It's good to have you here. We'll give it just one more minute and we'll go ahead and get started.
Thank you.
All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Once again, we have Rebecca here from Utah Grants, who's going to be talking to us about monitoring and using Utah Grants. So take it away, Rebecca.
Perfect. Okay. I feel like we're all friends here. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes, I'm trusting thumbs up. There are few enough people in this meeting that I think that we can kind of make this a dynamic training. So if you have questions, feel free to interrupt me as we are going along. I want to customize and make this training for exactly what you need. I will be hitting on a few things within the monitoring component of Utah Grants, as Lisa has requested, but I'm happy to go anywhere that you need help. So I expect that we'll spend the first little bit of this training going through that monitoring section, and then we'll open the rest of the time at the end for any questions that you may have. So that's kind of what my plans are as far as format is concerned. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can you see the Utah Grants screen? Lisa, give me a thumbs up. Yes? Okay, perfect. Okay, so logging into Utah Grants, I am currently logging into our development site. So this is where we do our trainings and our testing. So this, the data that you're seeing within the site that I'm showing on the screen now is just testing data. It's not actual real stuff, but the functionality is the same. So just if you see something that doesn't look familiar, that's why there's a lot of gunk in here from testing, from the testing perspective. So what we're going to talk about is monitoring. So on the grant lifecycle, monitoring is here on the top far right. We're also going to be talking about the analytics tab just a little bit, but let's go ahead and start in the monitoring tab. So there's a few things that we do here. So we manage payments in the monitoring, we manage site visits in monitoring, and we don't actually utilize progress reports in Utah Grants as of right now. I don't know if that's going to be in the future either, but those are the two main things that we do in the monitoring section in Utah Grants. So most of you should know about payment requests, but I wanted to hit upon the site visits and how we are managing that in Utah Grants. As our fiscal monitoring team is coming into the full level of staffing, more and more site visits are being conducted, and I've had the request to do a specific training on site visits. That said, everything that we're going to be talking about today will be provided in training materials, so don't feel like you have to take copious notes. I don't have them published on the web just yet, but you're going to help me to refine them today to make sure that the instructions are inclusive of everything that they need to include and answer or address any questions that you may have. So the notes will be available as will the recording for this session. Okay, so within the monitoring tab, I'm going to click here on the left to view site visits. And you can see here that I've created 2 different records for site visits for this pretend Alpine School District in my testing organization. Just to show you another way of navigating that may be helpful to you. So what I did is I went to monitoring, view site visits. On the home screen, there's also a lot of really helpful information under your organization profile. So from home, if you click on Manage Organization Profile, and then click on Management in the sub-tab, you'll see the same thing here. So you'll see those same 2 desktop review records, as well as risk assessments. So this is just another way that you can get there. There's all sorts of links within Utah Grants to get us all the way around. So you can get there either way. So I wanted to show you, first of all, this what happens at the beginning of a review or a site visit. So I'm going to go ahead and enter into this record. You'll receive a notification in an email that a site visit is being conducted. Site visits within Utah Grants can be one of 2 things. They can be an actual in-person on your site visit, or they can be a desktop review. Both are considered monitoring, and they're exactly the same as far as functionality is concerned. The only difference being one is in person and one is remote. That's it. So the site visit record will tell you what to expect that way. So on the monitoring activity here on the top, where it says desktop review, that tells us that it's a remote visit or remote monitoring event. If it were to say site visit, then you would know that it would be in person. So this heading is actually really informative. It will also tell you what type of visit that we're doing, or what type of monitoring that we're doing, whether that be programmatic or fiscal or both. So some helpful information within there. You'll also get some site visit details within the overview tab. You'll know when the activities are intended to begin. So whether that be on site or remotely, when we're planning to do that review. So the start and end dates of that review activity. And then also the period that's being monitored. So if we're looking at the last fiscal year, we'll put in the dates for state fiscal year 2022. And so you can see that as you need to start pulling records, those are the dates that span our monitoring event. And then there's a description of what we're doing. There's a key point of contact. So if you have questions on this visit, you'll know who to reach out to within USBE. Vendor information, that's you. You don't need to know that. You already know that. And then required staff to be in attendance. If this were an on-site visit, we would have a list of people here of who needs to actually be in attendance at the meeting when we come on site. And then we'll include some instructions for you as far as what is included within the site visit or the monitoring visit. So for example, if we're looking at time and effort reporting, we would put that description here. We're looking at time and effort. We need you to submit a sample of these 10 time and effort records. So we'd give you detailed instructions right here on what exactly we need from you from a documentation standpoint for this visit. And then we also talk about or include which programs that we're including in this monitoring. So it could be just one program, or it could be multiple. So it could be like all of the title programs lumped together, or all of the special ed programs lumped together, or it could be just one program. And that depends on our fiscal monitoring staff on what they're reviewing and looking at as far as how they group those monitoring visits. They are trying to group them together whenever possible so that we reduce the amount of work both from us and on you. And then in this context to be notified section, this is who we have contacted, who we know at your organization needs to be involved, and at our organization at USBE. So everyone that's involved in the site visit. These individuals may or may not be users of Utah Grants, but notifications will go out to everybody on this list saying, hey, a site visit is going to be conducted. Here are the dates. Essentially, it includes everything from this overview section. If you have access to Utah Grants, you can also get into Utah Grants and manage this site visit. Otherwise, you'll just receive the notification saying this site visit is going to be conducted. So we can notify users that are not, employees that are not users of Utah Grants, but you have to be a user of Utah Grants to be able to go in and attach files or manage this site visit. If you need to add new users, we've got instructions on our website on managing users within Utah Grants. The expectation is, though, that with all of the people that are contacted, you'll pick a point of contact and have that individual responsible for kind of managing the documentation, adding information within the system to provide back to the fiscal monitoring team. Any questions so far? I'm going to try to slow down a little bit because I know I'm talking really fast. Okay. So the expectation is when you get notification of this, there'll be a list of required documents that we need from you so that we can conduct our monitoring. That will typically be within the information section. So within the instructions for subrecipient section, what type of documentation that we need. So you will find this record within Utah Grants, follow one of those two navigation paths that I showed you before. And then you'll come in here, you'll read through, you'll look at the instructions and determine what needs to be attached and included. And then you go to the attachments tab and attach right here under the attachments from grantee. You would just click on the new button and then attach that documentation and file. Also, if there's any instructions that are required or that we are providing to you, any additional information or files, we would include that here as well. So the intent of this is so that we have all of the same documentation in the same place and everybody has access to the same information. So we're not sending files back and forth via email. We're not losing track of who submitted what and when. We have everything attached to the same site visit record. You can see it, we can see it, we all have access to it. It's a lot more streamlined than what we've done previously. So that's nice. When the site visit occurs, that will all be done with the information that's attached here in Utah Grants as documentation. We may need to attach more to make sure that we have all of the information that's needed, but we can continue attaching anything we need related to this monitoring visit until the visit is actually closed. So before the visit, during the visit, we can continue to attach required documentation all during that time. We would hope that you would attach the required information sooner rather than later so that our fiscal monitoring team can get started on reviewing those documents. Okay, so after the site visit occurs, our fiscal monitoring staff will review all of the information and the criteria, and there may be a little bit of back and forth as far as answering some questions or providing additional documentation. All of that will be done within the system. They will then, fiscal monitoring staff will make some determinations on the outcomes of that monitoring visit. Those could be nothing. I mean, they could say, great, you're good to go. It could escalate all the way to a finding, or it could be an observation or a recommendation. There's all sorts of outcomes that are possible with a site visit, but our fiscal monitoring staff would go in and enter those outcomes related to what they found within the site visit. And I have to review my notes here for just a second. Give me 1 second. After that, after the actions have been reviewed, I'm going to go into another record so you can kind of see this is nothing's really been done on this site visit. In fact, you can see that it's going on right now and into the future. So this would be expected to be a site visit that was currently taking place. Let me go into a site visit that's actually been completed. I'll kind of show you what that looks like. So again, I'm going to monitoring and then view site visits. Okay, so this, the upper one here says sent to subrecipient. So that means there's something for me here. When the fiscal monitoring staff enters an outcome that requires your attention, you will get a pending task to respond to that that action. So if there's an outcome that's required as a result of a finding, a pending task will come to you saying you need to enter an outcome here. So here's an example. This site visit is done and we have a finding. So in my outcomes tab, this populates after they've done their results. This fiscal monitoring staff has completed their results. You can see here that there's a finding and there is corrective action required. So if I look just with the eye, it will give me the corrective action record. So essentially it will give me the description, the criteria, condition, cause, effect, and recommendation and any question costs. So it gives kind of a high level report of what that finding involved. And I'm going to click the back button. Findings will typically require some type of a corrective action. So you would click on this corrective action link. And here you would indicate what it is that you're going to do to correct that action. So you would basically say time and effort. Let's say we're missing a policy. We're going to assign this corrective action to a specific individual within our school district. And we're going to say exactly what it is. We're going to talk about how we're going to correct creating this policy and when we expect to have that done. So let's say we're going to do that by March 1st and save. Oh, and I also have to go into roles and say who is going to approve this corrective action. So whoever is going in to put in this corrective action should not be the internal approver, because we always have to have two separate people with everything that we do in Utah Grants. So just make sure that the individual that is assigned to the corrective action is different, and putting in the corrective action is different than who is approving the corrective action. Okay, so now I've got Valen in as the approver, and I will save. Perfect. Now I'm going to submit that for approval. And then Valen will get a pending task to approve that. So that corrective action line will come to USBE for us to review and say, yes, this looks great. They're going to create a policy. It's going to be due by March 1st. And then we would expect you to come back into this monitoring visit as soon as you have that policy available and update your corrective action with the actual policy. So we will keep the corrective action open as long as it takes, well, until it's due, and you're going to be working with your fiscal monitoring staff to determine a reasonable period of time for that. Sometimes we can turn around really quickly and you know, the policy was almost done within 2 days, we can get it signed and put into place. If that's the case, we can just attach the policy. It's completed. We can consider this corrective action complete. It does go back to our fiscal monitoring staff to review that corrective action and accept that or send it back to you for additional work, at which time you would submit a final, here's the action that we've done on this related to this finding, and we would close the monitoring visit and any associated corrective actions. Just to note that there could be multiple corrective actions within any site visit. So each and every one is handled as a separate task. So the site visit itself will not be considered complete and closed until all of the corrective actions have been completed and signed off. So then they'll be done individually. So it's a little bit of work when you have multiple corrective actions associated with a site visit, but that way we can keep track of which ones have been done and which ones haven't. Okay, so are there questions as it relates to site visits or fiscal monitoring desktop reviews?
Not seeing anything in the chat. So
perfect. Yeah, thanks for watching that, Lisa. I don't see the chat, so thank you. But feel free to interrupt me too, and just pop your picture up on the screen and ask away. So thank you. Okay, so again, the instructions are going to be published. I'll make sure that you have really good information on the web as far as which steps to follow. But just as far as workflow, the most important thing to kind of note is that each corrective action is unique, and you have to manage each one separately as it relates to that visit. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on to another element of monitoring, which is reporting. In the analytics tab, so it's the very last tab at the top, it's a little pie chart and it says analytics. wanted to make you aware of a couple of really useful things. So first of all, on the left, there's a link for the grant summary report. If I click on that link, I can filter here by any different criteria that I see here on the screen. So, for example, if I want to know about all of the IDEA school age programs and where they stand, I'm going to put that in the filter. Or yep, IDEA. Let's just say IDEA and search. And this will pull up all of my grants that have IDEA in the program title. So you can see what was awarded, what's been paid, if there's been any adjustments, the remaining amount, and if there was a waiver. So this is an easy way to see program by program, kind of over time, what's happened with that program, or kind of a snapshot of what's happening this fiscal year. So I can put in like a 23 program number. That's my fiscal year 23. And it would pull up any program that started with 23. So there's anything that you can filter by here. You can put in that search criteria. You can also download this to CSV or PDF by clicking these little hyperlinks up above. So if you're like me, can't do anything unless it's in Excel. So download it as CSV and then open that file in Excel, and then you can manipulate it however you need to. Okay, so getting back to the analytics screen, I'm just going to click the back button on my browser. Oh, I did notice a chat. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so again, in analytics, there are also some reports that I wanted to point out. So all of these reports are customizable, and you can add, subtract, save any amount of new reports that you need to. But one that I find that is really helpful, and we've recently made updates to, is this USBE awards report. So to access the report, you would just click on the eye or the view. And it's going to put you in a screen that kind of looks like a Salesforce screen, which it is. Within here, you can customize this report by clicking on this customize link. And it pulls up here on the left a whole bunch of new information that you have available to you within this report that you can just click and drag into the report. And then you've got that information available to you. So I'm going to go ahead and run this report, clicking on the Run Report button. And one thing that I'm noticing is it looks like I've got some duplicate records here. One thing that we should have on this report, and maybe you guys can do this with me and tell me if you have this on your report or not. We should be including only certain statuses on this. As you may remember, a grant is the one holding place for multiple different awards. So every time that we have an amendment, we will have multiple awards within a single grant. What I want to see on this report is not all of those different versions of that award. I mean, maybe it is, but in my mind, I want to see the most current award document because it's going to be the most up to date. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to customize this report. This is actually a great example of how to do it. And then I'm going to pull this status and just click and drag into the box above, which is kind of a filter box. And I'm going to say, I want everything that has a status that is not equal to, and then use the search box. I don't want to see anything that is amended. And say, okay. So now all I am seeing are the activated, closed, or somewhere in the workflow, kind of in flight grants. It's a great way to know, like, where's my grant in the approval process? Because it will show you right here, submitted for approval. It will also show you awarded amount, payment amount, remaining amount, or any pending payments. It gives you a period of performance, start and end dates. Also, this is new for this report. It will give you a CFDA number if it's a federal program, and your sub-account is what we call the district program revenue codes. do you guys use district program revenue codes? Do you use these codes? They're here if you do. I'm not sure if it's just districts or if it's also charters. So if so, they're available. CFDA number is a great tool as you're preparing your CFA.
Yeah, they're saying that, yes, we do need.
Yes, yay. Okay, I'll stop calling them district numbers then. Perfect. Okay, so to get the detail, now that I've customized this report, I'm going to go ahead and run the report. Okay, and now I have all of that detail, multiple lines within the report. Like the grant summary report, I can also export this into multiple different file formats by clicking on export details. And I just typically use whatever is defaulted here and say export. And then I can open that in Excel, and it's a lot more meaningful and useful for me there. Okay. If you want to save those changes, you can go ahead and say save as and create a new report. So in this one, I'm going to say save that as USBE awards, active and closed. I can put a description in there, and then it's going to save it to my personal reports. So I can say save and return to report, or I could just say save. And then it would exit out of that report. So again, super helpful reports to have. You can customize them in any way that you need to. Not all of the information will be there on the left. If as you customize, what I meant was this information here. So if you are looking for something and you're not seeing it, feel free to give me a call or call the Utah Grants Help Desk, and we can help you through to see if there's a different report or if we can make some other fields available within the report for you. So I'm going to go ahead and close that report. Oh, I did not like that. But I'm in my testing org, so it's going to be crazy. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just abandon that window for a minute. And then other reports that you have available, a report on payments, applications, awards is what we were just looking at, and then LEA grant funding report. So do you guys have all four of those reports in your view? I trust yes. If not, let me know. Okay. One other piece that is really helpful that's new within Utah Grants that I wanted to point out can be used for monitoring. It's within the grants tab, but it really is how I would recommend that you access a lot of your information within Utah Grants for your monitoring. So if you click on the grants tab and then click on this view grants link on the left, actually, the new one is view active grants, sorry. Okay, so we have some new fields within this report too. This looks a lot like that awards report that I ran, although this is just a table within the screen that I can link and get to these records really easily. So by clicking on grants again, and then view active awards, I can see essentially that same information that was in the report. I am now seeing the CFDA number, whereas I didn't see that previously, and the sub-account field or the program revenue codes. You'll see the payment type, awarded amount, and remaining amount. One thing to note that's different on this view as opposed to the report is I'm only looking at active awards here. So this is filtering out anything that is closed, which we're actually working to catch up on. We've got quite a few things that should be closed that are not yet, but your list is going to get smaller as these programs get closed out. Wanted to point out something that may be really helpful as you're looking at managing your grant funds, and that would be this view with a filter. You can filter most of the screens within Utah Grants by clicking on this little filter button, and then selecting which field you want to filter. So in my case, what I want you to look at is the payment type. And if I say I want any payment type that's equal to, and again, you can use equal or not equal to, any different, whichever way you want to look at the modifiers. And then I want to say, I want to look at reimbursements required. Click on the plus. This is now pulling up a list of all my reimbursable grants, and I can very easily see how much is remaining or available on each of these grant programs. So this is really helpful when you're needing to know if you need to do a billing on a program, or if you've completed all of your billings. If you still have remaining amounts there, then you may need to look at making sure that you've submitted all of your reimbursement requests associated with that. So this is a great way to kind of weed out any of the MSP programs, Act 112 programs, or lump sum programs that you still receive payments on. They're in Utah grants. The reimbursements required are those that you have to submit a reimbursement request to get paid. Another helpful tool here, make sure that you're looking at the number of records. You may need to go through multiple pages, or you may need to look at more than one, like more than 10 records that are there. You may want to look at all of them. Okay, so filters are extremely helpful, and you can always just remove them by clicking the X. And for me, I use the search boxes probably more than anything. If I know what I'm looking for, I have a general idea. I want to look at the IDEA grants again. I would just put that in my search criteria, click search, and it's pulling up any active award that has IDEA in the title with all of the information associated with that. And then I can just access that program directly by clicking on the view, and I can do payment requests from there. Let me show you, for example, this one. Taking just a minute. And I've kind of got the spinning wheel of death. Okay, so by accessing this record, I can see like what is my budget period. I can see the total budget. I can do a budget revision if I need to. I can do a new payment request or waive the funds. Anything that I need to do as far as post-award management of that grant, I can do directly from that screen. So that's probably one of my favorite screens to get to right now, just because it provides so much information, as much as the report really, and it still lets you access the record that you're looking for. Okay, I think that's it as far as what I had on my agenda to show you today, but I wanted to leave some time to answer any of your questions. So fire away. What questions do you guys have for me? And Lisa, if there's anything else you wanted me to hit that we didn't, feel free.
That's good for me.
Okay.
Not seeing anything in the chat so far. And feel free to just jump on if you have a question. You don't need to type.
Yeah, exactly. Just unmute yourself.
I do have a question. I'm wondering why like such old grants are still in here. And even when you pulled up your active report, you could see that ones were like they expired in 21, but they're still in there, and they're even still pulling up in your active filter. And
They are because I haven't closed them yet. It's actually me and Louie. It's the Utah Grant Support Team that are closing these out, and it's just a capacity issue. It's a matter of getting them closed out. So we manually have to go in each and every single funding profile and close them out. And if there's any amounts that are left over that haven't been utilized, we've got to turn those back. So it's quite a process actually to close out a program. And we're playing catch up. We've really done quite a few in the past, I'd say month. We've been focusing on our federal programs that are like expired, no longer can use. But if there's 0 in there, or if the program period has expired, they're likely closed. It's just a matter of us getting them closed. So it really is just a capacity issue.
Okay, awesome. I just didn't want to I wanted to make sure, like, is there any other issue?
Yep.
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you.
Rebecca, I have a question. This is
Yeah.
Tanya.
Hey,
Sorry, my camera's over here, but my information's here.
it's great to see your picture. It's nice to see faces.
Hi. So what about things like I have a couple of things, one in applications that, an application that I started that we then abandoned,
Mhm.
but now it's past the deadline and we can't delete it. How do we get rid of those? There's also a reimbursement request that I think is also an old one
Sure.
that I can't figure out how to get rid of that.
So let me show you in applications. I want to see any application. Well, let's just put a filter on since that. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw what I just did. You can click on the titles of any of these flex tables and they'll sort by that title. So it would sort up or sort down depending on how many times I clicked it. So a lot of times I can find things by just sorting on that title. I didn't. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and go to my status, contains, created. That means it's not submitted. So click on that.
And you can also go on the dashboard just up to that little blue band and get a list of all the grants that have been
Yep,
created.
exactly. You can do that as well.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, so for example, this little guy application is way past, but it's still in created status, right? See that it's expired. There's nothing I can do here. Oh, I thought there was a way to say I'm not interested, but maybe that has to be while it's still active. Hold on, I'm playing here.
Okay.
I think this may be an opportunity. So I don't get into your view very often. We have a different view for USBE staff, and this may be an opportunity for us to clean up some old applications. I'm thinking, yeah, I still don't have the opportunity to waive this application. If it's still within that the period that the announcement is open, you can waive the application and it will show as waived instead of created, which is what I would recommend that you do if you're not interested in that. That said, we probably should close out some of these applications that are still in created status that you really can't do anything with.
Right.
So that's a good feedback. Okay,
Okay.
I'll work on that. The other one was payment requests.
Yes.
So payment requests, you can actually delete. I do know that, but it has to be either whoever created it or the key point of contact. So those are the only two people that can actually delete a payment request.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at one that I'm the owner and it's from 2019.
Do you have a little
And,
trash can next to it?
oh, wait, let me go back then. No, it pops up on the, like from the dashboard, I go to created, and then it gives me this list of reimbursements that I've started, but there's the eye. So I click on the eye, the green eye, and then it gives me an option to submit request or edit. And if I click edit, let's see what happens.
And you are the owner of it?
Yeah. I can save it or I can cancel, but if I cancel, then it just goes back to how it was.
Okay, so here's what I would do. I think, let's try this. This is great. I love the dynamic nature of this. So if you go into the actual award, so I'm going to kind of take that same navigation that I did before. I'm going to go into the grant, view active awards. And I don't know which one has a payment with it, but let's hope that this one does. I'm going to just show you where you can find it. I haven't, well, this one was a $0 remaining, so it won't, but I'll show you where to find it. So here, when you're within the award, if you go into requests and you see payment requests and actions, so you're not actually in the reimbursement request yet, but you're within the award that contains the reimbursement request. is there a trash can there?
Well, I searched for Title III. It's the 19 Title III that I'm asking about. And so I type in Title III and I just get 20 and 21.
I wonder if it's been closed.
That's strange. Huh. But yet it still appears on my monitoring dashboard as one that is created and still open.
Tanya, when you're within that payment record itself, is there a link to the award? So let me go into this one.
I'm sorry, I hope I'm not wasting everybody's time. I can do this.
Yeah, I think this is actually for me, I think this is useful to hear your questions.
Okay,
And if I were participating in this, I would want to like hear the thought process, even if we
Right.
don't solve it. Here's the thought process.
Okay.
Okay, so I am within this reimbursement request, this fake pretend reimbursement request. On the overview tab, there is a link to the award. So I can get back and forth between different things by visiting different screens. Anything that's blue is a hyperlink. So to look at the most active award, just click on that award hyperlink, start at the AD-USBE.
Mhm. So I'm in there.
And now you go to the requests tab. And do you see that
Aha.
the payment record with a trash can?
Yes, I do.
Ah.
Well, that was sneaky.
Yeah, sorry. But we got
Okay.
there. We got there. That's good.
Thank you so much. That's
You're welcome. But I will take the note on the applications that we've kind of got some data cleanup that we need to do on any applications that are closed and done.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to remember what I did. It's from grants. It's through the grants tab, right?
Yeah, well, we were, as long as up in this upper left-hand corner, you see award view. So as long as you're looking at the most active award for that program and then go into requests, that's where that information will be.
Okay.
Now, let me show you the difference between award view and grant view, because it's confusing. The screens will look a little bit different and we have hyperlinks between both. So I'm in award view right now. You can see there in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to click on this hyperlink to get to the grant view. This is what I was talking about when we have multiple versions of a grant. So if we have amended the grant for any reason, if you go to the awards tab, you'll see multiple lines here. This one only has one, so it's a one-to-one relationship, but it could be one-to-many. The most active award, most recent award is always going to be on the top, but anything that you're going to be doing within this program will typically be at this award level. But the ultimate container, the big container to see all of the different versions of everything, will be the grant view. So if you want to see a snapshot of this grant over time and how it's been amended and updated, the grant view is a great way to do that. If you're actively working it, go to the most recent award and manage it from there. So grant view versus award view. Does that add confusion or help? Hopefully it helps.
Yeah, I had myself muted, but yeah, that's helpful.
Thank you. Other questions from the group?
There is something in the chat. It says some older grants, we try to waive and clean up. Our grants are denied. Should we keep trying to clean them up or wait for you?
I would definitely say if you have remaining amounts that are have not been reimbursed, that you're not going to be reimbursed for those. You've expended as much as you can, the program is done, or you have remaining amounts and the time limit is over and you know it's not going to be extended, then I would say please waive the remaining funds on your own. We will still do the closeout, but that will make the closeout process a lot faster for me if you waive anything that's remaining. And to do that, the instructions are within the website, but within the award view, this one's not going to work because I have 0 remaining in it. But within the award view, it's just like a payment request. But instead of clicking on new payment request, I would click on waive funds. And that has to come to USBE for approval. So, and it goes to your internal approver as well. But that helps us in the overall process. If you have a whole bunch of grants out there with remaining amounts that you know you're not going to utilize, yes, please initiate a waiver on those because it does help us in the long run.
Okay, we have another one in the chat. It's how do we delete old users? You mentioned there was a guide somewhere. Does it address that?
Yes and no. It basically says call the Utah Grant Support Desk because you can't do it yourselves. So to know where your users, who are your active users, for those that don't know, in the home screen and then manage organization profile. On the overview tab, it shows any user who has ever been any individual that's ever been a user in Utah Grants. Note that active users will have a checkbox and say active. If they're no longer active, we can't delete them, but we can inactivate them. In fact, we should inactivate them because it's kind of a security thing for our LEAs. So if you do have people that have left your organization, review your contact information here. If you have active users that are no longer with your organization or don't need access to Utah Grants, help us out by you can shoot an email to the Utah Grants Help Desk or give us a call. Email is probably the easiest, saying inactivate these users, and we can do that on our end. So unfortunately, we don't have that management capacity, so you can't manage that on your own, but you can send it to me and we can get those inactivated for you. The guide does specifically address how to add new users, which you do here, and I think it's the key POC that needs to do that. But the instructions, all they say is you need to call the Utah Grant Support Desk. So yes, it addresses it, but it's not much information.
Okay, we have another one. As the creator, I don't see the same view as the approvers in KPOC. It seems inconsistent for when directors need to approve reimbursements or revisions. It can be in grants or monitoring then pending tasks. Is there a rhyme or reason to what tab that would be in?
So if you're seeing information from a creator and an internal approver that differs, then let me know, because I wasn't aware that there were different views between the two. Pending tasks may be different because pending tasks can be specific to the user. And I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to, but the views, like when you get into a payment request to create it and you get into a payment request to approve it, those two views should be the same. And if they're not, I need to know because they should be the same. And an approver should always see the same things that the creator is seeing. Otherwise, they don't have enough information, in my opinion. Do you have an example or like a specific screen or more information that you can share with me?
Courtney, would you be able to unmute and get more info on that? Let's see.
And if not, maybe you can.
She's going to try and get her headphones on.
Yeah, and if not, you can always send it to me offline and we can look at that. But it should be the same.
Okay. I don't see any more. We can wait a little bit to see if Courtney
Can you hear me?
Oh, there she is.
Oh,
Hi,
yeah.
Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
Sorry. My computer doesn't let me talk without headphones, so I didn't think I'd get to talk on this lovely meeting. Sorry. So I help several directors submit their applications and their reimbursement requests and their revisions and allocation changes. And they'll ask me, where do I go to approve it? And so I'll tell them, usually it's under grants and then pending tasks or monitoring or pending tasks. And then they'll say, I don't see it here. So usually we can kind of bounce back and forth, but my view of Utah Grants is different than theirs. So I just don't know how to direct them, like our reimbursement requests under grants and then revisions are under monitoring, or
So
does that make sense?
yeah, I hear two different things. So if the screens that you're seeing are not the same as what your approvers are seeing, get me 2 screenshots so I can see, because I need that information so we can fix that, because that's not supposed to be that way. However,
I think that the grant, like what they can see, it's just how to get there that I can't, like, I don't have all the same tabs and the same buttons that they have as the key point of contact. Does that make sense?
Yes and no. There's very, very few, like the new in the contacts, I think might be a key point of contact, accessible option,
Okay.
but I'm not sure of any others. But
Okay.
so if you do see that, Courtney,
Then
send me
I'll
some
let you know.
screenshots. Yeah, but again, there's so many ways that you can get to things, but I want you to be able to help your directors, the people that are doing your approvals, to get to where they need to be. So whatever we need to do to help you to see that, get
Okay.
there, I want to be able to help you with that. So
Okay.
one-
Thank you.
yeah, one other little helpful thing though that I'm hearing is we don't know where to find our pending tasks. So I'm going to show you a helpful tool that you may or may not know about. In the home screen, there's the task summary by phase, and it has the different phases like from across the top, and it has a number, and that number is a hyperlink. So this is anything that would be in my applications pending tasks. So that would be the applications would be the phase. And then this would be pending again. So I can do a couple of things when once I know I have applications, I have pending tasks, so I could go to applications, then pending tasks, or I can just click on that number and it will take me there automatically. And this is a list of all of my application pending tasks. So that screen from the home menu is actually that little dashboard with the pending task is really helpful for you to find where that pending task may be within the different tabs across the top. This task summary by due date, please ignore it. This is not helpful information, although it is a sum of like all of these tasks here. Currently in the QA environment here, all of this person's tasks are late. Late task is anything that's over a week old. That's all it means. It doesn't tell you that the application is past due. It doesn't tell you if a payment request is past due. It is just 7 days and that's it. So, I mean, it may be helpful to know like the age of the item, but it doesn't tell you as far as due date is concerned. So I would ignore that. Pay attention to this task summary by phase, and then just click on that number, and that will get you directly to that pending task list. So Courtney, that may help with some of your approvers to have them navigate to that dashboard.
All right, I don't see anything else in the chats. So I think we're good.
Does everybody know how to get a hold of me and Louie? So my team is me and Louie. Utah Grants at schools.utah.gov is really the easiest way to get a hold of us. And that way you can always reach out to me directly, Rebecca.Nielsen, I think the spelling's on the screen, at schools.utah.gov. Once in a while I take time off. So by sending it to the Utah Grants inbox, whoever can get there fastest will answer your questions or address the issue. So feel free to shoot us an email, which is the easiest way to reach us. And if you think of things after today's training, or you find that other training would be helpful, please also reach out anytime. Let me know how we can be of help.
You and Louie are super helpful. Like, I just have to put that out there that you guys are so awesome. You can fix everything. So thank you for that.
Courtney, I'll pay you later. Thanks.
I'm sure you just see my name come around a lot and you're like, oh, not that girl again.
We do. Oh, we're like, yay, it's Courtney again.
I'll
No,
pay
it's-
you
it's
later for
your-
saying that.
You are our super user because you help so many people that you're in there a lot. So we appreciate you. All right, everybody, stay safe and stay off the roads if you can, but travel safely with the weather we're having, and hope you're all well.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I appreciate it.
You bet.